introducing yourself. So great, guys. Uh, Okay, so best source to start DevOps. I mean, Sandeep, you're in luck today because you will get a little bit of basics directly in this webinar as well. We also talk about a few other things as well that is going to help you out if you're just starting your career in the amazing domain of DevOps. So again, it's an incredible kind of feat or match made in heaven to say the least that you are in this webinar. So, guys, again, please do answer these three questions for me. Where are you? What's your name? Where are you currently located? And what are you currently doing in your career? Again, we are asking these questions so that we get to know you guys better. And whenever we are coming up with new webinars, workshops, they can be much more accurate to what you are looking for, what are you're liking. We just got around 1 minute or so. So, guys, again, any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat window. Either somebody from my team will answer your question, or if it's a reoccurring question or it's a question that we also have in our questionnaire prepared, we'll directly pick them up in the live session itself to our expert trainer that we have got here today for you. Okay, the clock hits 0 and we are starting this new live webinar come workshop that we've got here for you guys on how to get a job in DevOps. Today, we all know that DevOps is, one of those fields, specifically technology as well, which is booming like anything. There are multiple job opportunities out there, irrespective of where you are located. So it's a very high time that we start exploring. If you are somebody who's new, this is the right webinar for you guys. Okay, so what you'll be learning today, but okay, before that, where are my managers? So my name is 𝐀𝐳𝐮𝐫𝐞 𝐃𝐞𝐯𝐿. I'm a community manager at K21 Academy, one of the favorite places for people to come and start their cloud journey, learn new things about cloud, different clouds as well. We've got expert trainers from all across the world who help our students, our learners to start their career in cloud, or if they're already in cloud, what is the next step? They guide them through with that and also help them through the way. Okay, so what you'll be learning today is number one, introduction to DevOps. Then we also get in deep about why DevOps, why Azure DevOps specifically. Then what does an Azure DevOps engineer do? Then Azure DevOps demand and job opportunity. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are here for that. We'll assess the market, job market right now. What's as the current salary in the different regions of the world, and how we'll also be looking at how you can achieve or get that salary as well. Then why certifications is important and what is the right certification that you have to target and work towards. Then a step-by-step learning path, or the most effective way for you to actually get started in this amazing domain, acquire and learn those skills as soon as possible so that you can go out and start applying for jobs and finally get your dream job. Then we will also be talking about what are the hands-on lab that you must perform for the Azure DevOps Engineer certification. Then there is also going to be a Q&A session, like I mentioned, so that you guys, whatever doubts you have, irrespective of whether they are career-related doubts, technical doubts, whatever they are, we will be picking them up as well. So guys, please make sure that you ask whatever doubts you have in the chat window so that those could be cleared. Either somebody from my team will directly pick them up and answer them. Otherwise, we'll directly pick them up in the live if it's a reoccurring doubt. Now, let's talk a little about our trainer for the evening. We have got Rishabh here today with us. He's got 10 plus years of experience with Microsoft products and cloud services. He's got 4 plus years in Azure solution architecting, Azure DevOps and security. And guys, he's currently working in the industry. It's not like he's not working. He's currently working in a company as a Microsoft engineer at the very end. Then he has conducted multiple on-site and off-site sessions for clients all across the globe. He is a Microsoft certified DevOps engineer, and he has also cleared 5 plus Microsoft certifications as well. Now, guys, I had asked you 3 questions before. There is one more I want you guys to answer. So we have these 3 categories that we look at, and we divide you guys into these 3 categories. That is beginner, intermediate, and expert. So please do tell me, are you a beginner at DevOps? Are you an intermediate at DevOps? Or are you an expert at DevOps? So please do put it again in the chat window so that again we get to know you guys better on that part. Okay, we've got people from all around the world, I see. That's incredible, guys. Thank you again for joining in. Oh, we've got majority of us are beginners, and I have to tell you guys, it's incredible if you are a beginner and you are present at this session, because this session is going to be very beneficial for you. We've got an incredible trainer here. We've got an incredible itinerary of things that we'll be teaching today that is going to help you immensely if you're a beginner in the field of DevOps. So great to see that majority of our audience today is beginner. Now, like I have mentioned this till now multiple times, we want to make this workshop interactive. We want to know what you guys are thinking, what doubts you have. So please do ask whatever questions you have directly in the chat window, and we'll be picking them up. Okay, so I will be giving the access to our trainer for the evening now. Okay, the access has been given.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar for the Azure DevOps. I hope you guys are doing well. And guys, just quickly let me know via chat if you can hear me well and if you can see my screen as well. Can I get a quick confirmation from everybody? All right. Okay. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you for confirming. So thank you, 𝐀𝐳𝐮𝐫𝐞. Thank you for the introduction. So guys, today we're going to talk about what exactly the DevOps. Many of you might have some understanding towards the DevOps already, or some of you might be confused where exactly I will be learning and what I will be able to implement. What is the essence of the DevOps? What is the purpose? And why we need to learn the DevOps, right? So today we're going to answer all these kind of the queries and why the industry demands the DevOps, right? Now, what exactly the DevOps is? So definitely, guys, if you work in any of the environment in the production, we need to develop certain set of things. For an example, certain applications, or maybe it can be a web applications, or it can be the application that you would like to install. Now, those application will be used by the users. Now, the users can be the external users, or it can be an employee working within an organization, because guys, the website can be external and the internal both. Now, when you are creating a web applications, definitely that web application required interaction with the other services, probably to a database or to any other resources that you will be hosting. Now, your DevOps is nothing, guys. It's just a combination of your development and the operations. Now, today, the industry demands that whenever we are working on any of the development of the project, it has to be transparent, and your operational team should be immediately informed related to any of the updates in any of the changes. Because previously, it will be a challenges task that what all things that your development team is doing, whether it is making sense to the operations, or let's say if an operation demands any changes within the project, whether your development team will be able to do it properly or not. So what exactly your DevOps? So guys, as the name indicates, development and operations. So with the help of the DevOps, we would like to fulfill the demands of the development and the operations together. And we have many processes like Agile, Scrum, through which we would like to maintain the transparency, and we would like to ensure that things can be done in a timely manner, because at the end of the day, we would like to achieve the project cycle in a timely manner. Now, what exactly the DevOps? So as you can see, guys, over here in this particular picture, it has been mentioned that your development team and your operation team can able to collaborate, can able to communicate, and can able to integrate together on a particular project. Now, over here, we are talking about not only about the collaboration or working on the things, but it also about what if there is a change is required. Let's say we are working on a project. Now, let's say there is a deadline of a project, for an example, 1 year. Now, within 1 year, lot can change. There can be a possibility that by the time you are about to release your web application or any sort of the product. Now, I'll give you practical scenario, guys. Let's assume that you are developing a website for a company which is going to publish some item for purchase for the customers. Now, definitely, guys, as more and more advancement will be coming into the picture, you will be bringing more and more items. Now, you want to make a lot of changes, not only for the purchasing the item, but also you want certain features that on the website, people can go ahead and add certain items in their bucket list, maybe for the future reference, or maybe you would like to analyze their searches, that what kind of the things they will be looking into. Now, these kind of the things required gradual changes, a lot of advancement over the span of time, and a lot of addition to the newer items on the website. Now, by the time you are hitting the deadline of the project, there could have been a lot of changes that you may required from the initial requirement till then you are completing your project, and in between you may need to toggle between many requirements. So over here, your development and the operations should work hand in hand in order to achieve those requirements. So over here, guys, what we are looking at, that these are some of your software lifecycle tools that we have. Now, Confluence, Jira, some of you guys are already using it. People who are not familiar with this, guys, over here, definitely if you are working on a project, you need to capture the requirement. You need to document all those changes as well, which is happening time to time. So there are certain software lifecycle management tool that we have where your code or the description of the code needs to be updated. For an example, Confluence, Jira, and your Git. And accordingly, you may need to create a build. So guys, whenever you develop a project, right, let's say you have written a code and that code needs to be tested. Now, where you will be able to test, because there will be hundreds of developers will be working on the project. Now, definitely, guys, during that particular section, you may need to do the integration testing, because everybody may be using the different environment to test the code. So over here, we also need to plan for the build strategy. So here are some of the tools, guys, what you're looking for, where the build testing that you have. Further, you may need to do the functional testing. Further, you may need to do the releases as well. And further, you will be proceeding with the deployment of your project. Now, for creation of the build, you required build testing. You may require your Artifactory management to be there. Now, what is Artifactory? What is build? How you will be able to create it? We're going to discuss in much more detail when it comes to the training. But over here, I'm just giving a 10,000 feet overview of how the lifecycle management looks like. Now, further, your code may be a Java code, or it can be a .NET code, it can be a PHP code as well. And accordingly, you may require different functional testing and your release testing tool. Now, what we are looking at right now are the some of the common functional testing tools and your release management tools that we have. For an example, Selenium, JUnit, Jenkins, and CodeShip. And once we are done with the testing, let's say your production environment is about to be deploying some of the resources that you're already planning. Now, before you're deploying the things in the production, you may need to deploy those things in the lower environment, probably for the UAT testing, that is your user assurance testing, or it can be your development testing, or it can be a QA testing, that is your quality assurance testing that you may need to do. Now, for that, you will be using certain tools for that. And once you are done with your testing, you will go proceed with the deployment. Now, when you talk about the deployment, your web application can be hosted on top of a VM. It can be Azure App Service Plan that you plan to deploy your web application, or it can be a container or a Kubernetes deployment. Now, guys, all these deployments can happen on Azure, AWS, and GCP. Over here, what platform that we will be using is Azure, and what kind of the deployment section that you need to look into depending on the model that you are following. If you are going to follow a micromanagement service model, it is better to go with the container or the Kubernetes deployment. Or if you want to use as a PaaS offering of the Microsoft, let's say I would like to put the responsibility of managing the operating system and the infrastructure beneath the operating system and the runtime stack where my application will be hosted to my provider, we can go with the app service plan. Or if you want the control of the environment, just like what you are using on the on-premises, you can probably go with the VM requirements as well. Now, there are certain set of the tools you might want to use. Now, guys, when you are going with the deployment, there is not necessarily that everybody is deploying the code. There could have been the possibility that you may want to create resources with the infrastructure as a code. Now, some of the examples are your templates deployment, or there could have been the possibility that you would like to run your PowerShell script or your Terraform script or the Ansible playbook in order to create your resources. Now, there could have been the possibility that you not want to dependent on a particular cloud platform. Because let's take an example of the template that we are using in Azure help us creating the resources within Azure. But what if I'm dealing with multiple clients and those clients are not only using Azure but also AWS and GCP? Now, in such kind of the situation, I required a common tool and I want to create resources with the similar kind of the syntax so that my engineers, my developers should not need to learn new things. Because guys, when it comes to the project deadline, training people, investing money on them, and also a time consuming process and money consuming process as well. So you required a model through which you will be able to become cloud agnostic. And that can be done by your Chef, Puppet, Ansible, Terraform. There are many operative tools that you can include in order to create resources. And further, you need to monitor. And in order to monitor, you will have multiple tools. Kafka is one of them, Splunk, Datadog, right? And over here, there are many guys. I mean, these are some of the examples which are of highly utilized or used by the organization, but there are plenty more. So guys, as you can see, what is the sign? It is called infinity, because this is not the only thing that once you are done with the deployment of the project, your job is done. Because guys, nobody is creating infrastructure on daily basis. Nobody is deploying a website on daily basis. But what is required is the maintainability. So once you are done with the deployment, definitely guys, you need to maintain that particular environment and you need to do the continuous changes as your business demand. And over here, guys, once you are done with the testing, release, and deployment operate, monitor, plan again, do the changes into the code, and this is an ongoing and the continuous process. So what is your DevOps? So guys, what we are looking at right now on the screen, these are a bunch of tools that we use in order to make the changes in our project. So in case if we need to publish any of the changes, they should be able to integrate that particular code with the existing code of the other developers as well. So we also have Azure Boards. So just a quick view. I mean, not only on the slide portion over here, I would like to just show that this is how your DevOps portal looks like over here. Now, similarly, your developer using multiple different kind of the tools. A common tool example, just like a visual studio, Android studio management, or it can be Eclipse, or it can be any tool, guys. So we also have Azure Boards. So just a quick view. I mean, not only on the slide portion over here. I would like to see an existing project, what exactly the project look like. Over here, whatever tools that I was showing you with the help of the slide over here, we have Azure Boards. And over here, this Azure board help us in order to backtrack any of the actions that we are taking over here on any of the task, any of the item, depending on what particular process we are following, whether it is an Agile, Scrum, or whether it is CMMI or the basic one. Now we're going to talk about how we will be able to form this, how we will be able to assign, how we will be able to collaborate, or if any of the developer is taking any action, how we will be able to get this particular thing notified. So over here, if you go ahead and see this particular slide, here we are talking about for the Azure boards over here. Now, similarly, your developer using multiple different kind of the tools, a common tool example, just like a Visual Studio, Android Studio Management, or it can be Eclipse, or it can be your Visual Studio Code. It can be any tool, guys. So over here on the bunch of the tools, whenever they will be making any of the changes, where they will be able to push that particular change. Let's say there are 100 developers working, where actually that particular entire 100 developers code will be published. So we have a storage where we will be able to keep that particular code available. We call it Azure repos, and that particular repository is going to keep all the code available over there. And then we will go ahead and plan the testing of that particular code. So we also have the Azure test plan for that. So we can create a planning for the testing, and we can go ahead and test that particular code before we are proceeding with the deployment. And how we proceed with the deployment, for that we have Azure pipelines available, that with the help of the pipelines you will be able to your build your code. Now building is nothing, it's just converting your raw code into the executable. Because if the entire code is available somewhere but you required compute to test that particular code, just a layman example, guys, if you are writing a code, let's say PHP code, Java code, .NET framework code, any code, that particular code will not make any sense without the libraries, without the functions that you have. For an example, let's assume that you have created a C++ code, but if it is not be executed on an environment or a framework where the C++ or C library is available, that code is not making any sense. That piece of code is nothing but an information. So you want to test that particular code, and definitely, guys, you need to compile, you need to run that particular code, and it requires an environment. And where exactly we will be able to take that particular environment, we're going to learn about the testing section of that particular environment. Now, further, where we will be creating the pipeline, what are the set of the tasks, the jobs that particular pipeline is going to execute, what are the set of the steps, what are the dependency of the code that you will be making over here. So, guys, your DevOps is nothing but a methodology over here, because your code can change over the span of time. Today you are using Java, tomorrow there will be a .NET code or maybe a PHP code. So over here in the DevOps, we are not here to learn any sort of the development. We are here to learn a method which can be reused in any sort of the project, doesn't matter what kind of the code that we are using. And once you are done with those kind of the deployment through the pipeline, because your pipeline has continuous integration and the continuous deployment where you will be bringing your testing, further we need to do the monitoring. So after the deployment of your web application, what we will be looking into, we will be looking into the application insight, that what are the areas that we need to further need to make the changes or need to modify over the span of time. Because guys, probably today the kind of the website that you have created looks fabulous to you, but over the span of time it required changes, right? So let's say after 6 months, after 1 year, probably you may want to modify, you may want to improvise, you may want to bring more security to the website, and there's sort of many features you may want to bring. And until and unless you are not monitoring your resources properly, those kind of the changes are really hard. So definitely, guys, we need to do the monitoring. And once we are done, this is a continuous cycle, and we continue to track those changes and whether the task has been accomplished in a timely manner. I hope, guys, this is making sense to you all. Are we able to follow so far, guys? Everybody, can I get a quick confirmation till here? Okay. Now, proceeding further, guys, when it comes to your Azure DevOps tool, right? So you will be using your boards for plan tracking, discuss, work access team, deliver value to your user faster. Your Azure repos will be available where you will be able to collaborate with your local Git repository where the changes will be done, where you have CI/CD pipeline through which you will be able to execute. Now that can be within Azure or it can be on the GitHub with the help of the GitHub action. And over here, your Azure test plan will be helping you, providing your exploratory tools for the testing through which you will be able to do. And further, you will have your Azure artifacts, which will be able to help you packaging all sort of the things or the dependency, because your code can have the changes, let's say binary files, it can have certain dependency on certain runtime libraries as well that you may want to introduce over the span of time. So these are a bunch of the options, guys, that you will be able to use over here. Now, this is a screenshot of one of the project, and I'm just showing you a live project, guys, that that we actually worked upon over here. So if you see this particular repository, which will be keeping all set of the code over here, where you will be making changes, and you can see that which particular developer has pushed on which particular code at what duration of the time. So you can see who has committed to the operation and who has made that particular change over here. So this is how to create a pull request and how the changes has been done over the span of time. You will be able to see that particular part over here, and you will be able to see that who has that particular branch available. So branching is nothing but a strategy through which where to make changes in which particular portion, because your project can have multiple feature branches as well, and you can see who has worked on which particular branch over here. So we're going to talk about all this strategy in the training when it comes to managing the project and how you will be able to create those branches and over the span of time making the changes over here, and how you will be able to execute your pipelines. So over here, when we talk about the pipelines, this is nothing but converting your changes into the executable over here. So any sort of the changes that you will be making? Okay, guys, somebody has raised the hand. Let me quickly take up that particular query over here. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, guys, you can put your queries meanwhile over the chat. I'm just going to continue with the discussion. And once we are done, because I can see there are 75 plus participants who have joined. So probably many of us will have the queries. So we'll put some time for the Q&A. We're going to discuss about those queries as well, that what are the things that we need to understand over here. Okay.
Yes, sir. Actually, guys, we have a dedicated Q&A section at the end of the technical presentation. So make sure you ask whatever doubts you have, even if there are career-related doubts as well. Please do put them in the chat window. We'll pick them up at the end as well. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Sure, guys. Not a problem. So here what you can see, guys, I mean, this is one of the structure of your pipeline, right? I mean, this is one of the pipeline which is using Node.js, but we're going to talk about how this particular pipeline will be formed because your pipeline is having two phases. One is for creating a build phase, right? That how the build will be created. So guys, there is a background story, right? So for few of you folks, it might looking that, I'm going slightly fast, but this is something, guys, definitely it's a big topic, right? DevOps. So 1.5 hour or 2 hour will not be enough to discuss in the details, but definitely we'll be taking on all those things in details when it comes to the training. But over here it's just an overview what we need to learn as a part of the training. Yeah. So further we have the test plan as well, where you will be able to create your plan and you will be able to see the progress of your plan over the span of time, right? And further we have certain artifacts. Now probably the artifacts that we can give you a little bit information about, let's say guys, you have a code, a Java code or .NET code. Now every code have its own dependency, probably a runtime dependency, or there will be some binary files, there will be some NuGet installer. So over here guys, there are certain set of the artifactories that you have depending what kind of the code that you are writing, maybe a .NET code or NuGet installer for Visual Studio, NPM, your Maven, Grandel. These are some of the requirements associated what kind of the code that you are using, right? So just you have heard about your .NET framework 4.4.1 or 4.5.1. These are different version of your .NET framework. Similarly, whenever you are developing a project, right, there will be having multiple different kind of the requirements. So we will be looking into that how this can be utilized in case if I'm writing a code, if there is a dependency on an outdated version, how we can go ahead and ensure that that particular dependency can be managed. So here we're going to talk about what are the different kind of the dependency management options that we have. Now, proceeding further, guys, as we have given you an introduction about the tools section that what we will be looking into, right? Let's move on further deeper in terms of the pipeline that we will be having. Now, when we talk about the pipeline, one is your continuous integration, one is your continuous deployment, and this is how the structure looks like over here. So when we talk about the structure, so here there will be your Azure Boards. Your developer will be looking into that for the requirements, making the changes, going into the repository. And within the pipeline, there are two kind of the pipelines for the continuous integration where your testing tools will be included in order to check the security testing, whether there is any particular vulnerability assessment, vulnerabilities are there or not. So we need to assess those requirements, or if there will be any dependency that we need to fulfill. Because guys, the early that you get to know about the problems, the less money and time you are spending on that. A layman example, guys. Let's say I'm having a disease in my body, but if I'm not doing a regular checkup, and if I get to know when that particular problem has already, has taken another, phase where it cannot be curable, it is a problem. So in the similar manner, guys, if you're developing a project, you need to find the problem as soon as possible, because the later you will find the problem, the more money and the time that you need to invest in order to fix those problems. So idea of the DevOps is to pick that particular code and try to find out the problem as early as possible. So when you go with the pipeline over here, inside your pipeline, you will have sources, tools, you will be creating a built a solution, and further you will be doing a release pipeline that once you are done with the testing, once you are done with the changes, you go ahead and tell where exactly the code needs to be deployed. So it can be deployed on the VM, as I mentioned, on the web application, and it can be deployed on the different various stages of the environment, probably your development environment, QA environment, and the production. And in between this continuous integration and continuous deployment, you will be able to do the dependency management with the help of the artifacts as well. So your continuous integration, less your code will be available, your code will be going to be built, that will going to take care of your runtime dependency and will going to integrate that. And once we are done with that, we're going to do integration testing. We're going to collaborate. We're going to put all the codes together, and we're going to test that particular piece. And once we are done with that particular piece, supposed to be tested successfully, once we are done with that, we go ahead and proceed with the releases and then further with the deployment on a particular resource over here. And once we all done with this entire cycle, what we need to do, we need to monitor so that if any changes that need to bring again through the code, we can go ahead and do that. Or anything that we have missed from the testing side, we can go ahead and bring. So it is continuously improving and improvising cycle. So here, when you talk about the deployment to the web, so guys, whenever you are hosting a web application, it's just not the code that is needs to be worked out. It also supposed to be making sense that what are the services that it will be communicating to. Because guys, when you talk about a web application, your web application work on 2-tier or a 3-tier architecture. It means not only the web application in the back end, it does require the integration with the databases as well. Now, how that particular integration will be happening, we're going to also talk about that particular part within the training. That if you are creating a web application, if you have a database, how you will be able to integrate with the help of the connection string, how you can make that particular connectivity secure with the help of the keyword, and how you can bring the security in. So we're going to talk about all this integration with your web application. So one thing is your DevOps, where you have your code, you have your pipeline, and you are telling that in which infrastructure that particular resource will be hosted or with platform as a service. But once it has been hosted, how it will be connected to the database, we may need to look into that as well. Because guys, within the organization, you have different kind of the databases services available. And also there are many subscriptions which are available that you may need to pick to integrate and for further deployment. So we're going to look into how that particular integration looks like. And if in case you need to provide the connection string, how you can make it secure and what are the other variables that you may need to provide. For an example, your SQL server administrator username and the password, or maybe I may want to bring any sort of the requirement of the size of the database, or how we can go ahead and make changes on those kind of the requirements. So we're going to talk about the integration part. So how the deployments look like of a web application and with the databases, we will going to look into that as well. Now talking about the deployment strategy. Now you must be thinking, guys, I mean, if we know what kind of the web application that we have to create, and we already know what kind of the deployment that we have, what do you mean by this deployment strategy? And why even we need to strategize the deployment if we anyways want those kind of the changes? Guys, let me tell you, you won't be able to make the changes whenever you want. There could have been the schedule changes as well. That change you cannot do on regular basis. Those kind of the changes can only be done once in a week or once in a month. Why? Because it can cause the problem as well. So you may want to look into that when you need to make the changes, the application should not be used by the end users. You may need to put another application in the functionality, and you may want to distribute the traffic in such a manner that by the time you are making the changes, none of the users will be accessing that particular web application. Instead, it will be accessing another application. Now, that is just one example. The another example could have been that I may want to capture the feedback of the customer. Let's say I'm bringing a new feature, and that particular feature I'm not bringing for all the customers. I only want to target a specific customer or fewer customer of a specific location. So I can capture the feedback, and the similar feedback can be utilized in order to make the enhancement to the another application. So for making those kind of the changes, you need to bring the strategy, or probably I may demand for the approval that in case if the deployment has been completed, until and unless it has not been approved by the security team, we will not consider this particular deployment for the another stage. So there are some of the deployment strategy that you may need to look into, how to distribute the traffic, how to make the approval mechanism in place, and how we can proceed further with that particular mechanism, depending on what kind of the web application that you are designing and what kind of the workloads that you are dealing with. Because guys, nobody is creating a web application of a similar kind of the environment. There could have been the banking firm, there could have been the healthcare firm that you are working with, or there could have been the possibility that you are working with one of the retailer company where you may need to make the changes frequently. So these are the some of the examples of the real time where you may want to bring the strategy from the security team or for the approval, or for the distribution, or maybe by capturing the feedback of the customer. So we're going to talk about that how those kind of the strategy can bring up with the help of the pipeline, with the help of the release gates, or how we can go ahead and do A/B testing, blue-green deployment, feature toggle, and how we can go ahead and do canary releases, or we also have the option for the dark launching. So what are those deployment strategies that we have over here? Now, we're going to talk about what does an Azure DevOps engineer do. Now, guys, probably as a part of the discussion so far, what we have discussed is looks like there are so many things that you may need to look into. But the thing is, guys, how often that you do all these kind of the things, that only decide the level of the expertise that you have. I'll give you an example, guys. Initially, when you hit your gym, right? Or let's say if you're going to drive a car, initially it will sounds very difficult for you that, how I will be able to remember all these things. Probably when it comes to driving a car or looking it towards the things, how I will be able to see the monitoring and whether there will be another car available or running behind me, or there will be a problem, how I will be able to follow the rules and lights altogether. But the thing is, if you're going to do that particular job on regular basis, it also becomes, you will be becoming habitual of that. And you will be able to do that particular job in your sleep as well. So over here, the idea is to get used to of those kind of the adaptable environments that your brain should look into towards the things automatically when it comes to your Azure DevOps. How oftenly you will be able to look into those changes or those things that you are adaptable to the changes, because guys, your change is now new constant over here. Because the fast you will be able to adapt, this will decide that how quickly you will be able to make changes and how quickly you will be able to bring those things which customers are looking for over here. So over here, the idea of bringing the DevOps is not only the collaboration between your development and the operation, but also to make things adaptable in such a manner that any given point of time, that if you want to roll back or bring newer changes, it will be just one click away. So the another thing, guys, that you have, what DevOps engineer need to look into, probably the strategy, probably the branching strategy, the security of that particular branch with the help of the policy, and also how that particular pipelines needs to be created and how the deployments look like. And on the basis of that, we will be able to continue. Now, DevOps, as we talk about your development and operations, so there will be the profile like your DevOps engineer, senior DevOps engineer, DevOps lead at the expert level. And also there will be project managers, and your business analyst will be working with you on the basis of your requirement, where the clients and the stakeholders will be changing it. So what does a DevOps engineer do? So the DevOps engineer works on your DevOps method, that any given point of time that your framework required any sort of the changes, you should be ready in such a manner that any sort of the changes will not make any challenges to the environment. It should be adaptable in nature. So over here, when we talk about your DevOps engineer do, so your DevOps engineer will be looking for the testing. So there will be some DevOps tester which who will be looking into your QA and the testing environment, continuously looking into the kind of the challenges that you are facing, or let's say any particular code required any modification, probably from the vulnerability side or redundancy side. Maybe the code is just an additional the redundancy, there is no such value that it is adding. It's just a repetitive code. We may want to exclude the code because it may be impacting the performance of the entire pipeline. So you may want to look into that. So over here, this is how your overall report looks like when it comes to your test planning and your QA testing, that what is the status and what is the overall exclusion of the problems that you have. Proceeding further, your DevOps for your infra admin. So there could have been a profile, guys, that you may want to look into from the infrastructure side. Let's say if you're hosting a web application, you want to host that web application in microservices in your Docker and the container. Now, many of us guys might not be familiar what is Microsoft services. You must have heard about many times what is container and Kubernetes, but really didn't get a chance to what exactly it is and how these things or these kind of the deployments are different what we are doing on regular basis. So we're going to talk about container and the Kubernetes deployment. We're going to talk about how Kubernetes architecture works beneath the environment. So in nutshell, guys, I'm not going to make it very complicated to you all because we know that everybody is, or most of us will be from the beginner level side over here. So, guys, your container and your Kubernetes is nothing, right? It's just a way of deploying things in a different way. Now, when we say in a different way, we will be getting, the services of the operating system and the runtime, and we are doing the micromanagement of that service. So, in nutshell, how that micromanagement works over here, we're going to talk about that particular portion over here. Now, proceeding further, guys. Micromanagement, hosting a web application on top of a VM, app service plan is one thing, but how to achieve automation? Now, when we talk about automation, right, we have a picture that automation means that put one click and automatically it will be helping you deploying the resources, making the changes. Now, guys, automation have a way bigger picture than that. It's not just only creating the resources, it's also about making the changes within the environment as well. So let's say I may want to make the changes with the size of the machine, I should be able to do that. Or let's say within the environment of the machine, if I need to make any configuration changes, I should be able to do that. Now, there are many tools available into the market right now in order to use the automation. One of the tool you will find within Azure that your automation account. Another, Ansible is one of the what you can say king of the jungle. You can say that currently there are many organizations are using. There is another important tool that is your Terraform. Now, these two tools becoming more popular over the days. Initially, it was started with Chef and Puppet, which was dependent on the Ruby language. But now, if you see, most of the organization will be using Terraform and the Ansible. Now, what is special about these tools nowadays, and why more and more organizations are adopting the business towards these deployments with the help of these tools? We're going to talk about that. So we're going to talk about the tool usage, that how this particular interaction is happening and what is special about these tools and why we need to learn these tools moving forward from the intermediate to expert level if we are moving ahead in our Terraform or in our DevOps journey. So we're going to talk about that. So it's going to help you creating the resources through the template. That is one thing. We don't want human errors because maybe if I'm creating a resources manually, the chances of the goof ups can be high. And if I'm using a tool which already have a standard templates and the settings available, I may need to look into the fewer changes only and rest will be done automatically. But before the things are automated, you need to do some exercise in terms of developing the code. So your developer need to look into that particular script and how that particular script will be formed. So before you can automate something, there is a lot of exercise will be needed. Before that, you need to do multiple failures testing before we will be proceeding with that. So how those kind of the integration with the DevOps pipelines can be done, we're going to talk about those requirements over here. So Ansible with Terraform. So one of the common tool, guys, that nowadays people are using, agentless, that you don't require any previous setup, just like your Chef and Puppet. You can directly bring that particular requirement and integrate with your pipeline, and you can start working within no time, saving money, saving time, and no need to maintain more infrastructure over the span of time. So further, not only saving the money, but also helping you to reduce your manpower in terms of manageability. It's a similar kind of a thing, guys. Everybody loves that particular service where only 2-3 engineers will be able to manage. Rather, there is an entire team that you have to engage that particular portion over here. So we're going to talk about what is Ansible. So Ansible is nothing, guys. This is one of the open source tools that you will be able to use. Similarly, you have Terraform. So Terraform is another open source tool. This is also agentless available. This is HashiCorp Terraform. So this is one of the organization which is providing this particular open source tool. And we can use this particular tool by integrating using the CLI, that is your command line interface, which help us in order to create resources via Terraform. So as I mentioned, guys, not only you need to deploy a web application via code, but also you can build infrastructure with the help of that, right? So that is one of the example of infrastructure as a code tools that we can use within our DevOps environment. Proceeding further, guys, we have DevOps for security professionals. So guys, when we talk about security, right? Security is nothing, guys. It's an approach. Now, what is an approach? Approach, where are the areas that we require security? Now, let me give you an example, guys, right? We all have traveled some way. I mean, I mean, somewhere in the past or in our life, everybody has to travel, right? Now, guys, you must have seen that most of the theft or any sort of the looting has happened, right, while the person is traveling. What does that mean? That when you travel from one place to another place, you required maximum security at that stage of time. Similarly, guys, when your code is traveling, when you are keeping a particular code in your repository, so where you are storing the code, that particular portion required security. Who is accessing that particular code? You may need to look into the security at that point of time, that who have the accessibility and what level of the accessibility that a person is required to make the changes, because not everybody need to make the changes in the code. Somebody need to only have a read only access, or somebody need to have a greater access, because they are not only making the changes in the code, but they are also structuring the pipeline or the repositories and the branches as well. So accordingly, you need to look into that particular piece. Further, if you're interacting with any external components, let's say your GitHub or your Azure repos that needs to be interact with any external pipeline, or vice versa, that your code is available not in Azure repos, but somewhere else, maybe on the GitHub, maybe on the Docker Hub, and you may need to collaborate with that particular code with your pipeline. So at that point of time as well, guys, you demand security. Now, how we can go ahead and bring the security with the help of your PAT tokens, that is your personal access token, that how we can go ahead and create, and what level of the security that you may need to give. So I'm just giving you an example, guys, with the help of this particular portal. I've just kept this particular portal handy over here. So when you go ahead and create a personal access token over here, how this particular personal access token looks like, and how you can give the accessibility with the help of the token over here, right? So these are some of the things, guys, that you may need to deal with. And further, what level of the accessibility that you will be providing, whether read and write, manage, audit, build code, depending on your business requirement. So we're going to talk about that particular part. So how we can go ahead and make those sort of the changes, we're going to talk about that. And not only that, guys, once you are executing your pipeline, you may need to bring your testing tool in between those execution of the pipeline. So your security also needed when your code is getting executed. So not from the external side, your security within the pipeline as well is also needed. And when you are deploying your resources in any of your VM, app service, container, or the Kubernetes cluster, that also demands security. So over here, guys, it's the entire traveling process. It's a pipeline. It's a set of the task. It's a set of the jobs that you will be executing, and it demands security from end to end. From while the code is getting developed, while the code is getting deployed, and throughout this, we need to maintain the healthiness of the pipeline and where exactly the problem can occur. So when we talk about DevSecOps, it's nothing, it's development operations with security. So your DevSecOps over here talks about how we can ensure that our environment remains secure. We also call it rugged DevOps, is a set of your practice design, integrate your DevOps and security. Goal is to enable your development teamwork to work fast without introducing an unwanted vulnerabilities, and your security strategy includes access control, environment, and hardening parameter protection, and more over here. So I hope, guys, till now, are we able to follow so far, guys? Everybody, can I get a quick confirmation? Is this making sense to all? Why DevOps? Why we are required DevOps over here? Everyone? Okay, guys. So there are some questions, guys, I mean, which I would like to take on over here. There are a few participants who have put on the question. Okay. So a couple of questions. I want to know total duration of your DevOps AZ training and what tools you will going to cover in the DevOps training. Okay, and this particular question is coming from Yasser Pravesh. So over here, the duration of the training will be 10 days, 9 to 10 days, depending, and there are 20 modules that we're going to cover. Now, talking about the tools, we're going to talk about the Terraform and the Ansible, I mean, for the third-party part. But when we talk about Azure DevOps, we're going to talk about Azure Boards. We're going to talk about Azure Pipeline. Now, within the pipeline as well, we will have the classic editor pipeline and the YAML pipeline. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about integration and the deployment. And further, we're going to talk about the Artifactory. So in Azure DevOps, we're going to talk about in and out of each and every aspect. For the third party, we're going to emphasize especially on the Terraform and the Ansible, because those are more common nowadays, because for Chef and Puppet, you may require Ruby understanding from the backend, and those are not being quite common because very expensive to deploy. So nowadays, those things are less likely to be used. Now, the another question is coming from Lola Lawrence over here, that do we need to open an Azure DevOps account to be able to do this? Definitely, guys, because we are not going to talk about over here that the theoretical knowledge. We are going to talk about the implementation, right? So I will tell you how to create a DevOps account, how you will be able to create a free account, and how you will get the access to the DevOps environment, and how you can execute your pipelines. So we're going to talk about that particular part. I'll help you setting up the lab as well, that if in case if you need to put any external tools, how to put a free version of that particular tool, so that you will be able to do some testing on the basis of that. So we need to create an account. We need to do the testing associated with it. Okay. All right, guys. So the answer is yes to that question. The another question coming from Yasser Pravez, that total free for the DevOps training, and do you help for the job placement for resume preparation? Yes, Yasser, will do help you preparing your resume, that how your resume looks like, what are the things that you need to put, right? So what are the highlighters? Basically, because guys, there are thousands of the resume available, right? And for any particular job, there are thousands of the resumes. So how you will make your resume in such a manner that it will be easily getting selected, or just chances of getting selected those resume for the higher side. So we're going to talk about that as well once the training will be over. You can put that particular part, in the Cloud K2N Academy portal as well. This is available. Now, another thing, guys, which is coming over here with live project example, definitely. So it is coming from Kiran K. So Kiran K is asking whether we will have the live project and the example over here. So, guys, when we are talking about the deployment, right, those use cases are one of the production use cases that we're going to talk about. So how to form a team, how to get this deployment done, how to bring the strategy, those are production use cases that we're going to discuss. Now, guys, talking about a project, right? Project have all different aspects. But when we are learning, we have to break down that particular project, because I cannot go ahead and talk about the entire project by the time my participants doesn't have the information what exactly we are doing inside that project, right? So what we need to do, we need to break the components of the project. For an example, how the requirement will be needed to be done. Let's say you are done with the requirement portion, how the tracking of that particular project needs to be done. Once you are done with that, how the implementation of the pipeline looks like, and how this particular integration of the code with your Azure repos looks like, how to bring Git, Team Foundation version control, how to import that particular code, and then how the pipeline. So what we're going to do, we will have a big project. And here we are breaking each and every section with the help of the labs, so that we can have a granular understanding when it comes to the implementation of the Azure DevOps on each and every aspect. And then we're going to discuss the requirements, that where exactly it is going to use in the live projects. So the answer to your question, yes, there will be live example associated with the project as well. Further question, what will be the project, the test, or understanding after the training? After the training, what I can do, I can help you hand over the links of the labs. We also have training videos available to those labs as well, in case if you're finding difficulty implementing those changes as per the production requirement. For the advanced discussion as well, we will put some duration over there for any external requirements which needed to be discussed apart from the Azure DevOps, probably an industry use case. So we're going to discuss that particular requirement as well. Lula has a question again. If I have no coding background, how easy is to move to the career area? See, over here, when we talk about DevOps, as I mentioned, DevOps is the methodology over here. So we are not going to talk about any particular coding requirement. We are going to talk about the generic scenario. So only the overview of the coding is fine. You don't need to look into the code. You don't need to do the granular changes in the coding, that we are making functions and libraries over here. There will be a generic code. We are just going to talk about how the changes will be reflected if some developer will be pushing. You don't need to do the developer job over here. So even if you have a zero coding experience, you will be able to learn DevOps without any problem. So you don't require any coding background over here. The understanding that, okay, this is the code, this is this code, this is the requirement, is more than enough over here. No development background is needed for the DevOps training, guys. Further question, AWS DevOps versus Azure DevOps, what are difference, and which is having, Shoaib, let me tell you over here. It's a similar kind of a thing that, if you're going to purchase a car, let's say there are two companies providing you the car. At the end of the day, the car supposed to take a person from one location to another. So the thing is, if you're talking about certain features and the functionality over here, so the difference between AWS and the Azure is nothing. It's just the terminology and how the things are getting deployed over here. When we talk about technology, nobody is better than anybody over here. Only the requirements supposed to be fulfilled. So if an organization demands certain set of the requirements, and if it is getting fulfilled, it can be fulfilled by AWS, GCP, Alibaba, or your Azure as well. It totally depends that in order to understand that methodology, you need to pick one provider over here. So in this particular training, we have picked Azure as a provider. Rest is just a comparison what AWS or what GCP is providing and how that particular requirement has to be implemented. Okay. So whenever you are talking about the comparison of the car, the first thing that we need to learn is driving. And for driving, you can pick any provider's car. It is not important that which particular provider is picking. Once you know how to drive, then you can pick any particular car. So over here, we are learning the methodology of the DevOps. We have taken Azure. Once you know the methodology, you can go with the AWS, GCP, any particular cloud platform. I hope it is making sense to all. Everyone? Okay. Kiran again has a question. Can beginner get the DevOps jobs? Why not? Definitely, guys. But over here, every organization have a requirement. So if you will be able to fulfill that particular requirement, definitely. And guys, not all the organization is looking for the expert level. If you will be able to make it to that, that is absolutely good. But over here, guys, when we talk about DevOps, it takes time when it comes to the proficiency, because it's not only that about cracking the job, you have to stay in that particular environment, right? So the thing is, it's about the survival. So over here in the training, we're going to talk about how to become that level of the expert, which not only able to crack the job but also able to implement things and the solution over here. So we are talking about the mindset, how to implement things over here, right? So the goal is definitely a job, but definitely the end goal is that to be able to sustain in that particular environment in such a manner that you can become expert over the span of time, right? So we are talking about a practice, we are talking about the mindset, okay, we developed through the training. Is this Azure training good for someone that is from non-IT background? Why not? Because over here, when we talk about, let's say, a project manager, or let's say a person who is a business analyst, definitely they are not having any particular background in terms of code. But when you are becoming an IT professional, definitely you have to start from some point, right? So sooner is better, because you can certainly understand how much demand that we have in the market for that. Is this for a complete beginners? Absolutely. This is for the complete beginners. So if I have no coding background, definitely, guys, that answers I have already. So guys, there are certain queries which are repeating. I hope I have answered that already. Is this Azure DevOps training good for someone? Yeah, that has also been answered. What is the best to write the Azure DevOps exam? Okay, so the thing is, guys, what is the best time? It is not decided by anybody else apart from you. The reason is you are the best judge that from where you have started and now where you stand after the training. Because guys, if you are intelligent, probably you will be able to grasp the things in a less time than the others. But guys, cracking the examination is about the consistency and your planning, right? I have seen many intelligent people flunking in the examination just because they are overconfident. They learn things initially, but they have never implemented, and they thought they got the things. So over here, guys, consistency is the key. If we are going under the training over here, what all the things that we are learning that needs to be implemented, we're going to talk about how it will be done, and we will be regular in that particular training, right? So we will have one session every week, and accordingly, guys, we will have the practice lab session over there. So we should be the consistent, right? I don't want anybody intelligent. I want people just to be consistent. And definitely, guys, by the time you will be finishing the training within a span of 2-3 weeks of the practice, you will be definitely able to clear your DevOps examination. So there is no doubt about it, guys. Okay, Shoaib, let me unmute you. Okay, let's have a conversation on this, because I'm thinking, there is a lot of questions coming over here when it comes to uh, that how you will be able to make the changes over here, and whether we are talking about any sort of the requirements over here, that what is better, what is top player, see guys, over here, when we talk about the industrial requirements, right? When we talk about a lot of the changes that we are bringing through the DevOps over here, right? Industrial market, I mean, when you talk about top players, let's say somebody has started in very beginning. For an example, definitely AWS has the market since 2007, 2009, right? And after that, your Azure came into the market in 2010. Now the GCP is coming around 5 to 6 years after that. Now, what all this over this span of time, who is the more provider of the jobs at the moment? So if you see in the market, more Azure jobs are available, right? So over here, what is the company revenue? What is the top player? It's basically where is the more requirement available at the moment? What help you to get the jobs easily right now? So if you see into the market at the moment, right, the kind of the jobs and the kind of the things available over here, definitely guys, your Azure is comparatively providing the higher job in comparison to the AWS. If you see the current market styles over here, are we able to follow, guys? So over here, when we talk about, right, we are talking about the opportunities that after attending this particular training, where exactly you will be able to explore the opportunities, right? We are not going to talk about the company's revenue, how much the company is making over here. It's totally depends how you will be able to make yourself comfortable with this particular DevOps and whether you will be able to explore over here. Clear? Are we clear on that particular section, guys? Is it making sense to everybody? Yeah. Aditi has a question. We'll be learning how to integrate your DevOps using the third-party tool. Definitely, guys. We're going to talk about that. Terraform and the Ansible. No, guys, DevOps engineer will not going to come under any infra team engineer over here. These are two parallel separate profiles over here. Okay. So these are different profiles, guys. I mean, nobody's reporting to anybody. Infra engineer have their own job. DevOps engineer have their own job over here. Infra understanding is better if you're looking for any DevOps requirements over here. Okay. So this is not for me. Didn't get it. Sudemo, can you elaborate over the chat what exactly you're looking for? I didn't get your question. Can you put it on the chat once again? What is the minimum salary once? We're going to talk about Tushar. What is the minimum salary? What is the IT standard over here? And his course feed and the duration. Okay, that particular part will be taken by the our team separately. That what will be the duration and what are the benefits and what are the things that you will be getting over here in a while. Okay, so guys, any further questions? Are we good so far? Any doubt? Any queries related to this? Are we able to follow, guys? Everybody? All right. So Sule has mentioning, guys, that I'm not familiar with any of the Azure administrator. So let's see. The thing is over here, if you are not familiar, any given point of time, being a DevOps, you have to start from somewhere, right? So even if you're at a beginner level, as I mentioned, that this particular training for that as well, because we're going to talk about from basic to an expert level over here. So definitely, if you're looking for that kind of a training, yes, definitely, guys. I mean, this is for that as well. So no need to worry about that if you're not from the any administrator background or if you're from a complete beginner. That is absolutely fine over here. Is this training, are you going to cover the whole deployment cycle? Yes, sir. The answer is yes. As there are 20 plus modules which are available, I'm going to mention in a while that what are the things that we will be covering over here. Okay. So I'm just going to share what we will be covering as a part of the training. Apart from that, any further question? Shoaib, are we clear with the doubt? That you had initially regarding AWS and Azure? Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right, guys. Proceeding further. Okay. Proceeding further with the things over here. Now, guys, as we talked about DevOps security, right? Why Azure DevOps? So over here, we are going to talk about the evaluation of the deployment. So there are certain waterfall models that we had initially. The waterfall model says that capture the requirement and go ahead and proceed with the deployment. And until and unless end goal is not received, we will not going to make any newer changes. But if you see today's world, guys, frequent changes are required over here. So definitely, guys, it is a older model, a monolithic approach that we have initially. Now, over the span of time, guys, those kind of the things has been changed, and we required Scrum and Agile model. So these were some of the challenges we're going to talk about with the monolithic approach, and accordingly, we're going to talk about the application architecture, deployment, and the packages, and how we can go ahead and bring the physical server and the requirement associated with that. So we're going to talk about that, guys. So these are some challenges, guys. If you see early 80s to early 90s, the development is happening over the monolithic approach, which is not being followed nowadays over here. So what is your agile approach and the scrum approach, and how we will be able to follow? We're going to talk about that particular portion over here. Proceeding further, when we talk about agile and n-tier, where the virtual server is available, right? So nobody is deploying the resources on a physical server nowadays. We have the VMs, we have the virtual environment available, and how those virtual environment is different from a physical server. What are the things that we need to know to manage only the virtual environment over here? We're going to talk about it. Yeah, Bharat has a question. Bharat, you have raised your hand. Yeah, you can unmute yourself and let me know. What's your query? Bharat, there is a query, or this is something which has been raised by mistake? Bharat, you can unmute yourself if you have any question. Okay, guys, I'm just slow down the hands then. Is there any prerequisite for your Azure? See, guys, for the DevOps, there is no prerequisite. Okay. For the DevOps certification, there is no prerequisite. But if you are trying to go for DevOps batch, that let's say I would like to follow the career path as per the Azure. So AZ-104 is a prerequisite when you would like to go for a batch. That one required an understanding of the infrastructure as well for the DevOps. But for directly DevOps certification, there is no certain prerequisite. You can book the examination, you can directly go for the examination as well. So there is no prerequisite kind of that. But yes, I mean, if you're looking for your DevOps batch that you would like to go for administrator first, it requires certain level of the understanding to that. But we are covering this particular portion in the DevOps training itself. So whether you required it or not for the examination of the DevOps, the answer is no. But if you're looking for the complete career path as per what Azure says, that one should complete AZ-104, then AZ-400, then you will get a DevOps batch, then you can follow that career path. But for this certification examination for DevOps training, there is no such prerequisite over here. That is only Microsoft career path if you would like to attain a bash. There is no hard and fast rule that you should clear AZ-104. You should not directly appear for AZ-400. So there is no hard and fast rule, guys. Yeah. Now, proceeding further, guys, apart from your agile model and your n-tier virtualization and the hosted, nowadays, if you are going with the DevOps deployment, the more and more deployments are coming for microservices, container, and the cloud. So over here, we're going to talk about how the microservices and the container model. And here you can see the evolution since 1980 to now. The changes has been done from waterfall, agile, and how that particular agile model is being utilized in your Azure DevOps for your containers and the Kubernetes deployment over here. Okay, guys, there is another question coming in. See, guys, I'm from India. As you mentioned that, where I'm from. So I'm from India over here. And I want to be your DevOps engineer, but cloud background is needed. And I'm a Scrum Master. Definitely, guys. I mean, being a Scrum Master, right? It is now important to know the cloud. Reason being, your Scrum Master is the one who actually decides the process, that how the process will be designed for any sort of the project. Now, definitely for cloud understanding, it is a must that any of the Scrum Masters should attain any of the cloud certification. The reason being, now any of the project which are going to be developed will be on one of the cloud platform over here. So definitely, I mean, one of the important requirement, Phil, I mean, when it comes to the Scrum Master, because any of the deployment nowadays which will be happening, definitely it will be on the cloud. So for you, especially, I mean, this is one of the important training apart from any other certification examination available at the moment. Yeah. So I hope this is making sense. Phil? Okay, guys. Proceeding further, your DevOps revenue forecast. You can see, guys. I mean, in year 2014, the revenue what has been started with your. I mean, over here. I mean, this is for the number of the forecasting, and we are talking about in millions over here, right? So 1071.3 million it was in 2014, and it is projected over here that it will cross 60,000 million USD by the end of 2015. And currently in 2022, it is near about 3.5 million over here. So if you compare from 2040 till here, it's 6 times more than what was there in the year 2014. So over here, guys, definitely, guys, there is a tremendous demand coming over the span of years over here. And definitely, guys, it is going to increase more and more. This is just a hypothetical situation, guys. Definitely the demand can go even more than that, depending the kind of the startups and the things are coming into the picture. Your DevOps in requirements is going to be continuously increasing, not only in the IT sector, guys, because every professions, let's say whether it's a retail industry, whether it is your mining industry, or whether it is a petroleum industry, at the end of the day, where the data and the information and the web application, information are getting stored, definitely into the databases. On the on premises, definitely it will be harder. So definitely those organizations are moving, guys. Azure have multiple government data platforms as well from the United States, and even in China as well as in Germany. That too, those countries doesn't share very good relationship with the United States. But right now, if you see, the demand is so high that the companies are tying up. SAP, which is a German-based firm, has tied up with all the cloud platforms, Azure, AWS, and GCP, to host their databases on cloud. So you can certainly understand the amount of the jobs and the amount of the work coming in that particular cloud business. And your DevOps is nothing, guys. This is your continuation changes consistent. And as I said, guys, change is your new normal over here. So in order to make the frequent changes, definitely the DevOps is the key, and every organization will be needing that particular requirements over here. So more will be the revenue, more will be the growth, more will be the opportunities over here. Yeah. So Surinder has a question that is specific to the course. Completing this course, what are the chances of getting the job? Right, definitely, guys. Job-related queries, I'll go ahead and put it into the end over here, guys, because definitely, guys, there is a demand, and that is the reason, guys, these all courses and these revenues that we are talking about over here. So public cloud
So,
revenue.
can we please pick all the questions at the end now, because we're running late already. So we'll try
Mhm.
to pick up all the questions at the end. Otherwise, we won't be able to finish up on time.
Not a problem.
Okay.
I'll finish it up.
Thank
We have already covered the technical part. It's just the revenue part we are discussing. So yeah, thank you so much. Okay, coming back, guys. So now public cloud revenue over here for the forecasting over here that you can see the cloud business. So if you talk about business process services has been also grown over the span of time. And if you see, there is a major increase in terms of your cloud services. So the portion which is in yellow, it's comparatively getting the higher growth in comparison to any other cloud platform when it comes to your business process or application infrastructure, or when it comes to your cloud management and the security services and your cloud infrastructure over here. So your cloud infrastructure and your cloud application services are continuously growing over this span of time. Your growth rate, you can see 5.5 billion in second quarter of 2015. And if you talk about right now, it is 44 point. And guys, this is only for Microsoft we are talking about. This is for the Microsoft. So till 2015, if you even compare the growth rate of AWS and the GCP, Azure has the highest growth rate registered over the span of 2015 till 2022. So initially, AWS has the higher side. Right now, it is moreover the equivalent. And when you talk about the rate of increase from where they were in 2050, Microsoft has registered the highest growth in comparison to any other cloud provider over here. And Microsoft stock prices, guys, has been grown over the span of time. So this you can certainly have a view that how the over the span of time the cloud expansion has been done. And more expansion, definitely, guys, more and more demand for your cloud services, more and more jobs available over here. So DevOps and the demands and the job opportunity. So when we talk about job opportunities over here, 19% and more jobs are available in Fortune 500 companies over here. So the companies like Walmart, which is number one in your Fortune 500, your big four like your Deloitte, EY. There are many companies, Honeywell, Fujitsu, Toyota, Lufthansa, one of the biggest German airlines company over here. So there are many guys. I mean, your Johnson and Johnson and many more guys. Heineken. I mean, these are just some of the example guys. I mean, we cannot put all the logos in the slide. These are some majors that we have get into. But guys, over here, if you just think about the organization, these are 1,000+ organization right now using your Microsoft Cloud platform and DevOps over here. Cloud job market over the span of 2011 and 2022, you can certainly see how the market has picked up from 2015 onwards within the business of the cloud over here. Your DevOps job market has continuously grown and hitting on around 15.0% if you consider it the highest scale up to 20% over here. So, I mean, till 2015, till here, it is more than 25% of the growth which has been registered in comparison to what it was initially. So, jobs in the DevOps over here, if you search, I mean, just go ahead and just guys, if you want to do a testing over here, just for the sake of checking, just put in your resume, though you are not certified DevOps engineer at the moment, just put DevOps engineer in your resume and just put it some of your profile over here like seekers or job profile or LinkedIn, and just see that how many people are started approaching you for the jobs at that very moment. So just update that particular part and just try to test that what is the demand at the moment over here. So there are plenty of jobs available within the United States itself. As you can see, these are some of the screenshots that we have taken recently related to that, also in the United Kingdom as well. So guys, just pick any country, guys. Canada, your Middle East locations, your your Pacific locations like your Singapore locations as well. There are plenty of the jobs available into the market as well, and plenty of them are in India, United States, and UK as well. And job in your Azure DevOps, you can certainly go for and look for this remote. So the options are available, guys, that you can work anywhere. There are more than 11,000 jobs available. So if you see, guys, 100 plus more jobs, it's just one click, guys. If you search over there, and 11,000 plus available jobs in United States only. Just a screenshot, guys. So this is how over the span of time it has been increased over here. Now your Azure DevOps salary, guys. Somebody asked that question, right? What is the chances of cracking the job and how much salary? So guys, did I speak for itself? So guys, 200,000 is the annual salary. I mean, if you are at the expert level and at a beginner level, it is getting started with $95,500. So you can certainly understand, guys. I mean, how much a particular DevOps engineer can make over the span of times that how much of the expertise that particular person have. And over here, when it comes to your UK, I mean, 42,000 GBP. That is your Great Britain pound over here. So at a junior level and at a senior level, it can go up to 80,000 as well. Okay. And you can go to your Naukri website, just try to upload and just try to check the salaries over here, right? It can go up to 100 lakhs as well, right? So it depends what level of the expertise that you have. And these are some of the common. So we have hidden the name of the organization, but you can see over here. This is for Chennai and the Mumbai location and what amount companies are ready to pay for the DevOps engineer at the moment. Now, why certification is important, guys, right? We talked about a lot of things, right? What is DevOps? What are the jobs and the opportunities available into the market, right? But why certification is important? Guys, definitely, guys, if I'm a person who's going to hire people, right? So I have only 10 to 15 minutes to judge any particular person, what that particular person is coming from. So definitely a particular person has cleared the certification, that particular resume is already up than many resume, because we know that this particular person has cleared the certification. So the person have a good understanding on the cloud and the DevOps, and that too recently has been cleared. It means the person is up to date. So guys, whenever it comes to the certification, your certification put your resume up above more hundreds and thousands of those resumes which are not up to date over here. So there are too many CVs available, but when it comes to the certification, you can see, guys, which particular CV looks better. When you look into the left side, doesn't have any certification associated with your DevOps. But on the right side, if you see, if you have any cloud certificate available over here, definitely it will be the first thing that anybody will pick over here, that okay, the person is already up to date. because the people who will be taking the interviews, definitely they have 20, 25 plus of the IT experience, but they will not have actually that amount of the time that they will be look into that what are the projects that you have done. But definitely if you have cleared the certification, it means you are up to date and you have cleared those things as per the Microsoft standard. So clearing the certification also put that particular point on your resume over here. So Azure certification. So there are fundamental certification, guys, for a people who are non-technical background, have no understanding what exactly the cloud is. They can go for that. Then there will be an associate level certification that they can go for, and they can also go for a developer level. There might be a possibility that I'm a developer and I'm not familiar with the cloud. So what certification I can go for? So AZ204 is the certification for the developer initially. AZ104 is for your infrastructure administrator, and then there is a Azure DevOps certification for the expert level that you can have. So any of these two certification, if you have done. So I'm not saying, guys, that you cannot go directly for the training. You can go directly for the training as well. But in case if you want your Azure DevOps Engineer Expert certification, for that, any of those, either AZ204 or 104 can be cleared with your AZ400 examination, that is your Azure DevOps. So who is this for? So AZ400 is the name of the course, guys, that we will going to complete with Azure standards over here. We're going to talk about the lab implementation and how the things will be. And we're going to talk about as per the updated curriculum provided by the Microsoft. So we're going to complete this particular certification over here. And your candidate, I mean, whomsoever is going for this, will be learning about the process and the technology and how this particular continuous delivery and the testing integration tools and the monitoring will be done. And on the basis of that, we're going to cover. Now, what we are looking at over here, this is the criteria for the examination, that in order to clear the examination, what we will be learning. So we're going to talk about your site reliability engineering and the weightage, that how much questions are available into your examination, that is 5 to 10% for your strategy. Instrumentation strategy, that what kind of the tool selection that you will be able to do. So if you know that after the training, guys, your examination will have the weightage of 5 to 10%. Develop a security and the compliance plan. So if you are going for your security requirements, and if you know how to bring your DevSecOps, you can easily score 10 to 15% of the marks. Manage your source control. It means if you know how to work with your Azure repos, how to follow Git, how to manage your repositories, you can easily score 10 to 15% of the marks. And if you know how to collaborate, so if you want to use your Azure boards, or if you are managing your Teams channel, integrating with your Azure DevOps, and if you know how to collaborate with the teams using those tools, you can easily score 10 to 15% marks. Major weightage has been given to your continuous integration pipeline, because that's where a lot of testing tools has been included. So we're going to talk about continuous integration, and if you understood that particular part, you can easily score 20 to 25% marks for your certification. And when it comes to the continuous delivery, you can easily score 10 to 15% of the marks in your release management strategy over here. So these are a bunch of the options, guys, that we have. We will be able to clear it up. And once we are done with the training curriculum, so what we are looking at right now, the weightage in your examination from the training, that what we will going to complete for AZ400 over here. Common job question, success stories to inspire you. So guys, over the span of time, these are a few batches that we have trained, right? These are the recent feedbacks, guys, for the people who have recently got the jobs after completing the examination over here, training, who have completed not only the examination, but also able to acquire good position into the market as well. So you can see, guys, over here. And these are the screenshot taken from our groups, our chat groups over here, guys. So this is something that that what we are looking over here. So this is one of the certification. The participant was so happy that they are sharing their screenshot that when they have cleared it, right? So you can see, guys, over here, that over the span of time, these are some of the success stories. There are many more. So how I learn quickly and efficiently. So there are some step-by-step roadmaps available. So these are the 20 modules that we're going to cover about your DevOps starting deployments, your GitHub, release strategy, implementation, and the securing your Azure pipelines. And guys, if you see over here, with each and every modules, we have lab section associated with it, right? So let's take an example of your Azure DevOps journey for your boards, how to work with that. There will be some lab practice to that. Deployment for your enterprise DevOps, how to structure your Git repos, how you will be able to work with the repositories. There is a lab. So every deployments, let's say your GitHub actions, you will be running your pipeline, how to work with your continuous integration, your release strategy over here, or the implementation and the deployment of the pipeline, or your desired state configuration. Every module have some practice exercises that we will be doing through the training, and also some of the homework that I'm going to give you once we are done with that particular session. So every session we will be completing one or two modules, and accordingly you will have your assignments, and there are some of the labs we will be taking forward within the training itself, and there will be a doubt session. So over here, when it comes to implementation of the security or continuous feedback or a strategy, we will go through all the lab exercises, and this is the roadmap what we will be covering in 10 week over here. And on the 10th week, we're going to take up some of the examination queries and tips and trips, how to clear the examination, how to practice for the examination. So the idea first to make you knowledgeable, to make you at that level so that you will be able to implement the changes and the things through DevOps. And once you are done, then we're going to talk about the strategy, how to clear the examination over here. And there will be some hands-on labs, so you can register on your account, you can get the access of the lab. These are the headings of each and every labs through which we will be going through after the module section. And after completing all these labs, guys, you also going to have the accessibility to those training videos as well. So you can log into our portal, you can have the access to the videos, and all these hands-on labs that you will be getting the access as a part of your training, what you can say, the supporting requirements. So not only the training, you also have the access to these labs, and you will going to perform these particular labs, and you have the videos available to that. Okay. So your Microsoft Azure DevOps Engineer. So there are 20 modules, 30 plus lessons that we have, and 26 hands-on lab, and how to prepare for the examination and how to prepare for your jobs, what kind of the questions that can come within the interview. We're going to cover all that over here. Proceeding further, what is your unique training methodology over here? So we're going to have a free on-job support for 1 year, guys. So any given point of time, if you're facing any challenges, any sort of the queries, you have our support teams available 24/7. So you will be able to get a support. There will be a weekly live interactive session. Post session recording is also available, and there is a lifetime access to that. Free unlimited retakes for 1 year for the training. So over here, guys, you can see there are certain benefits. The moment you will going to enroll for this particular course, your videos, your guides learn for your own pace, guys. So everybody has their own bell curve for the learning. Somebody would like to go for the examination after 2-3 weeks. Somebody would like to go after 1 or 2 months. Still, you will get a support and you have the access to the things. We have the WhatsApp group. You can also open your ticket as well. We have the Zendesk ticketing tool, guys, that you can open. And you also have your hands-on lab where you have step-by-step activities available over here. So your job and the certification oriented training will also be there throughout over here, guys. So
Sir,
apart from that, guys,
take it from here. Thank you.
sure. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much.
Hello, guys. I hope my screen is visible now, and I'm audible loud and clear. Please confirm in the chat window so that I can be sure that my screen is visible. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. So a lot of you guys have been asking us in the chat window about the course and how whatever things that sir have been telling you about how you can learn those things efficiently. Sir have already covered these few things, but I'll just quickly tell you guys a little about the entire training program that we have to get in depth as well, and to take it to the next step. I'm going to tell you that about in a bit. But like sir mentioned, it's a 20 module training session or training class, whatever you want to call that. But in this, we cover almost everything from the starting to the end as well. Any prerequisites, anything that you want to learn, whatever, whether you are an intermediate level, even an expert level, there are things that are coming new almost every single day. And we regularly update this training program accordingly. There are few things that so also mentioned, but I'm going to tell you a little in depth about these things. That's our training methodology. There are certain things that we keep an eye on, make sure that those things are taken care of, and this entire methodology is constructed on the basis of recommendations and feedbacks coming from our senior management. are learners, people who are in the success in whether in terms of clearing the certification or getting jobs after they are done with the training portal. For example, we have this on-job support here. That means when you are done with the course and you have cleared the certification, you have gotten a job. For that 1 year, we will be providing you on-job support. That means whatever projects that you are working on, whatever doubts you are kind of having at your new job in the job role of DevOps as our DevOps engineer, we're going to help you with those doubts through whether it's WhatsApp or whether it's ticketing system, email, whatever it is. Our expert trainer as well as our team at K21 Academy will help you out with whatever problems you are facing at your new job. Along with that, we have live interactive sessions. That means, for example, in this session, you were not unmuted, you were not allowed to talk, but in our live sessions, you are allowed to talk, you are allowed to unmute yourself and ask your doubt right there and there. The batches are much smaller, so the usually our batches around 20 25 people only, because we want it to be a circle where you can ask your questions. It's not too much hodgepodge. There are not too many people in one batch, so as for you to get enough attention from the trainer directly as well. Then all the posts, all the recordings will be available for the session. That means for any reason whatsoever, if you are not able to attend one class, the recording will be available for the same. But we also have well done videos. That means we have recorded sessions, proper recorded sessions of individual topics available for our training portal as well. Then we have free unlimited retakes. That means for 1 year of when you buy the course, for that 1 year, you can enroll in any particular batch that we are starting. So if you are not able to, you missed a few classes and not able to get back on track, you can join the training program in the next 1 year of buying the training program. So in that particular case, even if you're missed out, you can join in a new one and start from the scratch again. Then like I mentioned, there are well done videos. So these videos help you to learn at your own pace. So even if you're not able to understand something in the class, you can come back, watch those videos, watch the live recording as well. Any doubts, put them in the WhatsApp group. Our expert trainer, along with that, our entire team is available there, and they help you out with whatever doubts you are. We're very committed to that because we understand a lot of you guys, like you mentioned here as well, you guys are beginners, so you are bound to have some doubts here and there, whether it's regarding the technicalities or theory part or whatever it is. We will be helping out through that. Then again, the entire goal of this training program is two actually goals. Number one is to get you that certification, and second is to get you the job that you are eyeing for, the dream job that you are looking for. Again, guys, any questions, please do put them down in the chat window. I've got an incredible team here in this webinar as well who's answering your questions as we go. I'm sorry, you will, yes, you might get the recording on your mailbox, but again, we cannot say that right now in terms of whether you will get a recording or not. Then these are just a few screenshots of what our students say. So I'll just read out a few only. The training was great. 5-on-5 team is exceptional and they know what they are doing. Even if you don't get things in live sessions, there is possible ways to go through recorded videos. I'm happy to be here. You're doing well. Then we've got Vara Prasad who says five. So every by the end of every session, even in this session, I would ask you guys to rate us out of 5. We want constant feedbacks so that we can constantly improve on what we are providing you. So this, numbering that you're seeing is a rating out of 5. 5. The session is far better and excellent than previous batches. Excellent improvement in content and delivery of knowledge. K21, you are the best in continuous improvement. Thank you very much. But I'm honestly reading this for the very first time. So yeah, similar feedback throughout. Again, guys, these are individuals just like yourself who were new to the DevOps, to the cloud domain, and who trusted us with their training journey, with their learning journey in the amazing domain of cloud and DevOps. And so far to say that we did a decent job because they are pretty happy, as you can see. Hey Atul, I'm actually amazed at the service you guys provide. Absolutely outstanding, with so many time zones to worry about. I I'm sure it is not easy, but your support team is outstanding. Nobody can fault the material or facilities provided by your team. Keep it up. I'm absolutely sure no other training academy provides such a package, which is totally worth it. So again, guys, these are some of them. If you want to check, check them out for a particular course. In this particular case, is at 400. You guys can always go at k21academy.com/testimonials. So now the next step, if you guys want to know better, we don't wanted this session to be more about our course. So if you guys want to learn more, if you guys want to know better about the course, what we are providing, what's the price of the course, and a lot more newer things as well, I want you guys to go and attend this. This is a free class again. We've got another one. In this, we cover a slightly more different things that we have covered in this particular class. There are some things that are similar, and there are some things that are newer as well. There is also a live demo. There is also a demo in this particular class. So to register for this class, go at k21academy.com/az40002. Okay. Again, I'm going to repeat it, and somebody from my team is going to put it in the chat window as well. K21 www.k21academy.com/az40002. So guys, go ahead, register for this free class. Over here you will get, number one, if you are interested in the course, you'll get to know about what is the entire course comprising about, what are the different modules we are covering, what are the hands-on labs, again with also the pricing of the course, what are the benefits that you get, because there like sir also mentioned that for this particular certification is at 400, there is a prerequisite is at 104. So we also talk about that certification as well, how you get that certification in the most efficient way, and actually whether you want the knowledge in that particular certification or you actually need the certification itself as well to have a successful career. We also talk about that. So let's just see that Priya have asked that question. So Priya, you don't specifically need the certification for this particular certification. What you need is the knowledge of the certification itself. So Priya, okay, I see that we have answered, I think, almost. got to clear whatever doubts you had as well. And for the next step, if you want to explore more, if you want to know our course in depth, in detail, go and check out